Well met. My name is Magnus, and this is part of my shifting Barony of the Shifting Tides Friendsgiving. So today we're going to be making some Cuban coffee. First thing you need is, well, coffee, right? You're going to need an espresso grind specifically because that's what us Cubans make. We make espresso. You're going to need a lot more sugar than you think. I mean, this is probably enough, but I'm kidding. We're gonna use a lot less than this bag, but you do need a lot more than you need. Let me make sure I'm in the camera frame at least. You know what? Let me angle this up a little bit. There we go. Yeah, excellent. I should have done that before. Hey. You're also gonna need one of these. I'm not sure exactly what they're called, but you know what? You really don't need them. You can actually get away with just another coffee mug. But the one piece of important equipment you are going to need is an espresso maker. I already have that one open, so let me show you this one. Maybe not one this size specifically. This is something you use for maybe a group of maybe 5 to 10. Perhaps, but it's the same main concept. The smaller one I'll be using because there's a lot less of us. There's only 3 in this house that drink coffee, and of those, only 2 of us really drink coffee. So, each of these espresso makers have 3 main parts. You've got the bottom, which I will call the reservoir. I have no idea if that's what it's actually called. You've got this compartment here, which is where you'll be putting your coffee. I'll show you how to do that with the correct espresso maker in a moment. And this is the top. This is actually where your coffee will percolate and come out through this stem here, and that's where you'll pour it out. The actual creation of the coffee is actually, the brewing rather, is actually fairly simple. So you'll basically take your reservoir. First step will be taking your reservoir out. And you see this valve here. All of the espresso makers have one. You're going to want to put your water level up to about halfway through this valve here. So because that's something you won't really be able to see, I'm going to do that off camera and then set it back down. All right, once you get to about halfway, you're not going to be able to see it. So we'll just, we're on the honor system tonight. Also, you don't want to make Cuban coffee too late in the day. I'm doing it at like 4:30 because I quite frankly grew up on this stuff. I'm pretty much immune to caffeine and the amounts of sugar. But best time to start making this kind of coffee is maybe just before lunch, if not right after lunch. It's usually something you have after a large meal. And so now that we've got our water, let's go ahead and move on to the filling of our strainer thing. Now, you don't want to fill it all the way. You want to give it some leeway, and you also don't want to pack it in too tightly either. I'm using a dark Italian espresso because that's just what was on sale. I mean, let's, you don't necessarily have to stick to the Cuban brands as long as it's the correct grind. You're looking for an espresso grind. I don't know too much about coffee, but what I can tell you is you want your coffee to not go over the edge, right? You actually want a little bit of an indentation, but you also want to make sure that your coffee gets to the rim of the I guess cup itself. So once you've got it filled, make sure that you're not packing it too tightly either, because if you do that, then you're going to run into some very serious problems. But you're going to put your coffee filter right into the reservoir here. It fits in perfectly. I did that off camera. Now it's kind of difficult, but see right there. Put it right in there. Close your espresso maker. And then this is when you close it off, right? And you start your heat. You put it on your range. Here, let's see if we can get a shot of that. Whoop. Okay, so you put it on your range. And you want to make sure that if you have one of these deals where it's plastic, you want to make sure that that's not directly over the flame. It's totally okay if it's a little bit over. Oh boy, now I'm going to be self-conscious. You just want to make sure that nothing plastic is on the actual heating element itself. Let's put away some things as I'm using them. And then for the mug or this metal, I'm not sure. I'm sure it has a name. I just don't know exactly what it is. But once you've got your espresso maker on the stove, you can get started with this part right here, which is just a step that will be one less once we get to the point of actually making the coffee. So this is where we get the signature sweetness and also the insane sugar rush from Cuban coffee that it's known for. So we're going to be using a fair amount of sugar. It's going to look like a lot, and well, quite frankly, it is, especially for someone who has cavities or issues with acid reflux. I would not recommend you drink too much of this. Personally, I do maybe I'll drink it once every few months. It's not even like, unfortunately for me, I can't drink all that much coffee. It's just not good for me. You want to make sure you don't get any lumps in your reservoir, but you do want a very large amount of sugar in there. Generally speaking, you want to get somewhere close. If you're using one of these cups, this right here is a good rule of thumb. If you get it up to here or maybe even just before that bend, then you're perfectly fine. What I like to do is, since my sugar tends to clump up because we don't necessarily use very airtight seals, I like to just give it a little stir, make sure that the spoon is breaking up any of the larger pieces. And then from there, what we're going to do is we're going to wait for our espresso maker to make two sounds, and they're very important sounds. That first sound, I like to call it the grunt, because it's kind of letting you know that it's starting to wake up. It's starting to get to where it needs to get to before it actually starts percolating. And that once you hear that first grunt, that tells you you're ready to. You'll be ready in a few minutes to go ahead and make the coffee. Now, what I like to do is once I hear that grunt, I will take the heat from all the way to high. I'll put it down to medium. And once that gets to medium, that's when it'll give us a tiny little bit more time before we get to the actual coffee itself. Now, very important, one thing I do is I like to leave this lid open. Generally speaking, I should do that before I put it on the flame, but it's fine. You can just use a tool of some sort to open the lid, and then that will allow me to, once that first, what we're looking for is the first drops that are coming out from that stem. So once that first, now I don't know if you can hear it, but what I'm hearing now is that grunt. So I'm going to be putting it down to medium. because it's going to still be enough to bring it over, but also we will get that first brew, which is what we're looking for. Those first few drops will go into your sugar, and that's what we're going to use to make what we in our community call espumita, or froth, essentially. And that froth lets you know that the person who made that coffee actually knew what they were doing. Because that froth only comes up if you froth the coffee first. I don't really know how it works. I'm honestly not a barista or anything like that. But that's how I was taught. That's how my mom taught me, at least. So let's bring this up just a little bit. Maybe a little more. Now, I don't think you're going to be able to hear that grunt, but the first drops of coffee have come out now. So I'm going to close this up real quick. I'm using just a very small amount. You really don't want to put a whole lot. As soon as you get a couple drops in there, like literally just enough to get in there. I don't know how well you're going to be able to see that, but you're not using enough to drown the sugar. You actually want to feel like you're using a little bit less than you think you need, and then with a fork, specifically a fork, or you could also use a spoon, but I prefer a fork. You start mixing this around. You keep going. You keep going. You keep going. You're gonna feel like maybe you're not using enough, and in this case, when it starts looking like light brown sugar like this, let's scoop some out. If your coffee looks like this and it's still not foaming up, go ahead and use a little bit more. At this point, it doesn't matter if you're using the first bits of the percolated coffee or not. You just want to keep going. This is, right here, an exercise in wrist motion. This is all on the wrist. And you just keep going and keep going. Now, at this point, I'm pretty sure I put too much. So I'm going to be basically chasing the froth. But that's okay. You know, Cuban coffee specifically, is actually a lot more forgiving than it seems. You just have to know. Oops, that might be too much, but we'll figure it out. It's definitely too much sugar at this point, but you're gonna want to give it a good mix. Make sure everyone's incorporated. Now, yeah, I've used a little bit too much, but you'll see when you do it, you're looking for a sort of dark copper color to the foam, and it will start to foam up. Oh boy, I just got this too. All right, and so once you get to a foam state, which it won't look like foam. It'll only turn into foam once the hot coffee hits it. I may not end up getting a foam on this one, but I'm sure when you try this out for yourselves, you'll definitely get foam, because you'll know that you definitely don't want to put too much and you don't want to not put enough, because once you get to a point where you're just chasing it. See, this isn't exactly what you're looking for. Whoops, where's my camera? Here we go. Whoops. This is not ideal, but it will work. It'll do its job. It'll sweeten the coffee, which is essentially what this is for. But you're not going to get the foam that Cuban coffee is known for. But it will still be Cuban coffee. It'll still be delicious. It'll still keep you up 3 or 4 nights if you're not used to it. So be careful with it. Now, what I'm going to do is, because I did mess up, I'm going to slowly pour in my coffee little by little. Because see, now we've got that foam that I was talking about. Let's see. Whoops. Okay. It's a brand new foam. But that's where you get the coffee, the foam that you're looking for through the how well that you basically made a meringue out of the out of that coffee. Then, you know what? I think I did pretty well. I might have been a little too hard on myself. So, me personally, there's a couple ways of making Cuban coffee. You can just pour a shot of it, like you would hear in Starbucks. Let's see if we can get that pour in here. Now, this won't look perfect because it's a Coca-Cola cup, so the glass is tinted green a little bit. But what you're looking for is, I didn't do the sugar correctly, but what you're looking for is pure black here and then a very nice copper foam at the top. But a few other things you can do with Cuban coffee if you're not the kind of person that likes just straight up coffee. What I'm gonna do for my mom, actually, because I know she doesn't do a whole lot of sugar, I'm gonna make something called a cortado, or cut, because essentially that's what it is. It's cut with a little bit of something extra. Usually people just cut it with a little bit of milk, but some of us who are in the know use something called, well, I mean, you guys know about it too. I don't know why I made it seem like it's some kind of secret, but evaporated milk, essentially, folks. Evaporated milk with a small amount, like what you're looking for is about this much evaporated milk. And my mom doesn't drink coffee with sugar, so I'm just going directly from the from our espresso maker here. And then you're just basically coloring that evaporated milk with a little bit of coffee. And no, this isn't the kind of coffee drink that you get an entire mug out of. In fact, this should have been served in one of these cups. I just didn't see it in time because I'm kind of doing this quickly. It should be served in one of these, and pouring out of this is going to be a nightmare. So I'm just going to keep it that way. Okay. All right. Yeah, that's not too bad. Wait. I'm going to get myself. Hold on. 1 second. Oh, there's a little bit left, yeah. Okay. So, another way of serving Cuban coffee, and actually it's the way that most parents will introduce it to their kids, is something called café con leche. Basically, that's a latte. If you've gone to Starbucks before, ask for a latte with regular milk, a shot of espresso, and a whole bunch of sugar. You've basically had a café con leche, which is also known in France a café au lait, I believe. And I think it's just about the same way of making it. But essentially what you're going to use is you're going to use one milk. So we're going to pop this bad boy in for, let's clear that out. Let's do a minute. Then, while that's going, you're gonna let the just gonna go some small talk for a minute. Usually, most of the times, if you order coffee at a window down here in Miami, it's steamed generally, but I don't have fancy steamers, so I'm not gonna be doing that today. But you do want your milk to be warm, unless if you're the type of person like me who I want a splash of milk and the rest coffee so that I can drink as much caffeine as possible. But generally, if you're at home, you don't want to do the whole espresso, froth the milk, or steam it or whatever. Minute and a half in the refrigerator. That's the opposite. In the microwave, and you're good. So you're gonna be getting your coffee here, or your milk, and you're gonna pour that coffee you just made right into that warm milk until it colors it. Now, I don't have any. I should have used another one of those glass coffee mugs. But you want to do it to a point where you can color the milk. Now, this for me is very light, but I didn't realize that you use about half a cup of coffee. But yeah, you want the coffee to stain the milk till it gets very light brown. I like to take it down to the point where it gets to about a walnut shell color. At that point, you're about half and half there. But again, I'm used to caffeine. This stuff doesn't affect me at all. I could probably drink all of this and still fall asleep just fine. But yeah, that's Cuban coffee 3 ways. You've got your traditional shot of espresso coffee. You've got the cortado, or cortadito as well. And you've got the café con leche. Generally speaking, the café con leche is served with Cuban crackers or just regular crackers, bread, toast, that kind of thing. It's traditionally a morning affair, and then you can drink any other version of Cuban coffee at any time of the day that you want, as long as you want to make sure you want to be up for a few hours, especially if you're not used to caffeine. But anyway, that's my tutorial. I hope you enjoyed it. And once again, I probably didn't say this before, so let me apologize now for not being awake. That's why I couldn't do it live. But I hope you learned something. I hope this was informative, and thank you very much. I appreciate it. Be well.